The TikTok hit almost 300,000 views in less than 24 hours. And the video I'm talking about that went viral is that I'm apologizing for the United States for the American war in Vietnam. Close to 100% were really positive comments. You know, you're talking about youth in Vietnam, because it's basically 50 years since Victory Day on April 30th, 1975. It's 50 years in 2025. Victory Day in Vietnam. Congratulations. The response has been so great, and I realize during my visit in Vietnam this year, you know, I noticed so much optimism. Hospitality is off the charts when it comes down to service. Respect for their elders. Yeah, that's right. Not only their parents, but me. I'm an elder. So I want to talk a little bit about why I went there, what I saw, and some tips I would like to give to the younger generation. We have something in common. I was brought up by my parents that were first generation and were poor. My father was 100% Italian, first generation. My mother 100% Polish, first generation. I'm one of 11 children, and one of my brothers served in Vietnam, close to Saigon, in the printing area. He wasn't in battle, and I'm proud of that. And I always had this association that I was one of the lucky ones that wasn't drafted into the Vietnam War. I didn't have to make a decision what to do, whether to go to service, go to college, or whatever I was going to do. I didn't have to go through that. But Vietnam always had something with me. One of the stories that I have is one of my buddies who was in his 90s. We became partners in working out. I would work out with him, even though I was 20 plus years younger than him. We just hit it off. He was part of the greatest generation, and I'm in Florida, and we became really good friends. He started getting older, and I kind of took him under my wing as a friend. We had a lot in common, sports. He was a big New York guy. He was born in Brooklyn back in the day. He had a lot of Italian friends. He served in the Pacific. He lied about his age like a lot of those greatest generation guys. To get a better life, they would lie about their age to get into the service. One of the things that he shared with me, besides sports, besides our Catholic faith and communion, I would bring communion to him as a Eucharistic minister. He shared his story about his wife, his two sons. And one of his sons served in Vietnam. Over time, he shared with me some of the pictures of the pride and joy of his eldest son. I went to D.C. to look at the Vietnam monument along with other monuments. He asked me if I would etch his name, his son's name, because he had passed away at Vietnam. The beauty of it is he gave me his dog tags. Actually, he had them made. And his name was Lieutenant James W. McClurg, United States Marine Corps. Birth date, October 26th, 1946. Killed in action in Vietnam, March 8th, 1970. And on the back of these dog tags he had made, and he passed one on to me, was his son, Jimmy, We love you and miss you, Mom and Dad. Now, the father passed away about 95 years old, maybe about 7, 8 years ago. And he went back to meet with his other son to pass away in a independent living facility. And Jimmy, we call him Jimmy, and he had a nickname Buster, but I didn't know about his nickname Buster over the years. But he's a hell of a guy, man. And he was so proud of his son, and as the greatest generation, he was so proud to serve in the Pacific. But one thing I have to mention about his son. He showed me pictures of his son swimming with young Vietnamese kids. And that was one of his last pictures that was sent to him after he was killed, because he loved Vietnam too. But he was a lieutenant. He was there to serve for the United States. And he was killed. And he was the type of guy that, from his father, that led through battle as a lieutenant. He was just waiting for his son to get back, because the father, that was his, to be honest with you, that was his hero, was his son. One thing I have to admit is Buster, Jimmy, the father, never had an issue with the Vietnamese. He never said anything about a negative aspect about Vietnam, the war, his son, the killing. And in fact, he relocated his son to be with his mother at a burial site after the mother passed away, which was Jimmy Buster's wife. That was from city to city. So it was really what a hell of a deal to be able to do that. So when I etched his name at the monument in Washington, D.C., we're talking about 60,000 people that they know of. I started thinking about the millions of the Vietnamese that were killed over all those years with every war. We could talk about China, we could talk about France, we could talk about United States, but it seemed like it went on forever. I'm not a historian. The bottom line was, I don't see a monument in Vietnam. That would be the greatest wall of Vietnam. What else did I learn besides walking through the monument in Vietnam, or the museum, the Independence Palace? It just got worse and worse as I walked through, because it just made me sick. Because my mind went back to when I was under 20 in high school, 73 versus 75. I was watching on television about Vietnam, and I could never understand it. You know, I wasn't a politician. My parents brought us up, as I mentioned, one of 11. We had to work, man. My brother went to Vietnam, and it was like, that's your duty. Go do your service and then come back and we'll see what happens. That was the deal. So I am so attached to Vietnam because of my history. One thing I want to say is that I noticed in Vietnam when I was there for 3 weeks. Those 3 weeks I was there, I got a lot done. I joined AmCham, which is Vietnamese Chamber of Commerce, along with the United States. I got that going. I'm in the process of being accepted. I met people through TikTok that met with me, that brought me through operations. And the more I noticed the youth, because after 50 years, it's the first generation. Most of these kids that I talk to that are really ambitious and ready to work, Their parents, they live with their parents or their parents live with them. It's just normal. And that's what it was with my grandfather and grandmother. That was the old school. Family unity. That was respect, honor. Those are the things that I saw. And it resonated with me because I saw it. However, in Ho Chi Minh, what I noticed was these kids are working. They're the first generation after the war. There's ambition. There's optimism. There's education. There's a work ethic. There's respect for the parents. There's respect for elders. And they're all looking to try to get ahead. There's a reason why American companies and companies around the world go to Vietnam. No, it's not low cost. Number one, it's technology. Look who's coming. Look who's building. Why do you think the United States imports $125 billion in 2024 from Vietnam? Vietnam is known for technology, electronics, textiles, manufacturing, and footwear, furniture. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of resources in Vietnam. I'm in the printing industry. So when I went there, I went really to observe what's going on. The biggest thing that I really realized in Vietnam was the family businesses. They're generational. People work hard and work smart, and they're willing to travel. They're willing to get the education. They're willing to get the licenses. Why do you think the United States outsources to Vietnam? And it's getting bigger and bigger. Why does China? Why does South Korea? Why does Japan? And guess what? Vietnam can't have enough babies. They can't have enough because a lot of them never made it through the wars, the multiple wars. The mamas are gone. The children are gone. Many of the men didn't make it. The generations. That's what I felt. But you know what? There's forgiveness. Vietnam they're moving on. I look at these kids, I call them kids because they're in their 20s and their 30s and so on. I stayed at a hotel and there was not enough Mr. LaManna's service, hospitality, cleanliness. The other thing I noticed is the fitness. I would go into the fitness room. Vietnamese people, men and women, are in shape, man. They are out there to work and they work hard. Okay? So, I want to talk about basically the opportunities. That's all the Vietnamese need is an opportunity. They've already forgave the United States. They're willing to work. They're willing to work smart. They're willing to deliver on time. They're willing to do engineering. They're willing to do everything. They have a work ethic. Resilience, patience, fortitude. You can't get any better than the Vietnamese. Work, kindness, respect, provide, sacrifice, family comes first, all those things. That's what I felt from the Vietnamese. That's what I got. I felt like I was in my 40s again, and I'm ready to go recruit the best of the best. Why do you think I'm going back? I could see through social media, of all things, people are meeting me. People are asking me for mentorship. And I'm letting them know the 3 E's. You need the education. They already got that. They got the encouragement. The only thing they need is the empowerment. And that's where the jobs come through. In America, We have to start looking at the Vietnamese. Now, I'm going to mention something to you. I went and I met some people, and I went basically to see what their startup operation was all about. It was about food and rice. President Trump just announced that plastic straws are back, paper straws are out. Well, guess what Vietnam's got? Rice straws. They're big in Asia. They're not the only one. SK's not the only company. But they're coming to the United States. It's going to happen. Look at this packaging. The other thing that I notice is, besides their manufacturing, their technology, which they jerry-rigged the equipment for high-speed manufacturing and automation of rice straws, they're totally integrated. Now, what do you mean totally integrated? This particular company is a family business. And not only do they have the rice inventory and the rice paddies and the rice farms, they're never going to run out of supply chain. Never, ever. They manufacture. And they automated that. And I saw the video of the equipment. And I said, listen, don't you ever show that up to anyone. That's how high tech it was. Second of all, their packaging. Their packaging is totally integrated. They have ownership of the packaging. The printing company, the packaging company, and they're getting everything licensed, and they're starting to do the marketing and the distribution, the shipment. The only thing they really need is marketing. And that's how I could help them. I have the distribution network in the United States. And my philosophy is networking. You got to remember, I'm 71 years old. I'm not going to do the work. I'm just going to give the connections to the Vietnamese people that have responsibility and accountability to sell and grow this business. And there's a demand. Not only rice and straws, you got food, you got noodles. Here, look at this. FDA, gluten-free. Let me see here. Sweet potato powder. Brown rice spaghetti, brown rice pasta, purple sweet potato, vegetable rice pasta, baby pasta. We could go on. Great logos. The only thing they need is distribution. And that's the next step. Are there people out there? You're damn right there are. You just have to connect. You just have to connect. And that's where I come in, and that's the reason why I highly recommended joining the AmCham, the Vietnamese American Chamber of Commerce. Connections. You got all the big companies there. You got 3M, you got Avery, you got CCL, you got Multicolor. I'm in the packaging bit, so I'm just naming them off. They got the technology. They got the supply chain. They got the motivation. These people are hard-working people. It's an honor to work with the Vietnamese. It's an honor. And I respect them, their country, their families, their parents. I can't say enough about it. So here I am talking about Vietnam. Why? Because that's the emerging market, man. That's the emerging market. I was brought up in the 80s in business, in the 90s, and we were talking Japan, we were talking Mexico, we were even talking Africa, India. China was big back then. And then guess what? What happened to the trust? Huh? What happened to the trust over the years? All the wars that either we started or I'm talking about the United States, we never finished. We didn't finish Iraq, Afghanistan. Now We're putting our nose in the Ukraine and Russia. Let's get back to work, like Trump says. Let's get back to work. These are all a distraction. We got to build businesses. Vietnam's the place to be, man. And I'm putting everything on the line to be there because I believe in it. So now we got Victory Day 50 coming up here on April 30th. I'm sitting there thinking, hold it. Social media, I got 300,000 views. Is there anybody out there that could write a letter to Trump or the embassy in Vietnam and say, listen, where's the United States supporting this effort, Victory Day? We should be celebrating that, the United States. I would think that Trump would apologize. I believe in Trump because he's a businessman. He understands what Vietnam has done for the United States. He's been there twice now as a president at 45. We got to let him know, hey, we're rocking and rolling here in Vietnam. That's where it should be. I got another idea. You're going to think I'm crazy, but I talked to a college coach in the Midwest about recruiting Vietnamese in their sports, such as soccer, badminton, volleyball. They're big in volleyball. Basketball. Okay? Male and female. Not only sports, you know what they brought up to me? Rock, what about academics? What about scholarships? Yeah! International players are coming from Japan, Korea, everywhere. Why not Vietnam? But it takes 2 years. Approximately, you have to educate. You have to give the kids goals. You have to have a presence. You have to be known. You have to let people know that you want to go to the States. And there's scholarships out there, such as the Dove Fund. It's been around 25 years. I'm part of that. They just celebrated 25 years. Dove, Development of Vietnam Endeavors, FUND.org. They're also a member of AmCham. Okay? And they offer education, schooling. They have special scholarships such as Agent Orange, which is a fucking sin. It's a sin. God never developed that. Napalm was developed in the United States during the Second World War. Where? Harvard. Yes. Well, why not educate for the betterment? Get these kids educated, United States, go home and take care of the family. You can do it. And bring the business back with you. Sourcing. Sourcing is huge. I know guys that have sourcing operations and they're utilizing who? The Vietnamese. And listen to this. Company I'm aware of, they're having the equipment, or I should say the parts, being developed, painted, assembled, computer-aided design, and so on, for like 25% the cost, and they would ship them back to the United States to be assembled. That's no more. They're so good with Vietnam, Vietnam's going to actually do the assemble and the drop ship around the world. That's right. It's good for everybody. Let's start thinking. Yeah, I could go on TikTok, I could bitch and moan, but guess what? That's not the future. You don't want to be bitching and moaning and coming up with excuses. No. You want to build Vietnam. I believe Vietnam is almost triple the growth rate per year than United States. Vietnam is way up there. Top shelf. It's only going to get better with guys like me informing the world. You got to go to Vietnam. You could trust these people. They're transparent, and they hit the timelines. That's what I'm doing. I want to grow with Vietnam. I want to celebrate with Vietnam. The next 2 generations, if I could. But anyway, YouTube, Rock LaManna, my channel. Listen to it. All the stuff I've been talking about for the last 50 years about growing teams, growing education, growing my kids, growing businesses, growing teams to run these businesses. Well, now I'm shifting everything to Vietnam because that's where it's at. The biggest thing about Vietnam is they accept the challenge. You don't see that in America. There's more complaining. I'm not here to beat down my country. I'm just saying, hey, I've been in business for 50 years. I got a Harvard Business School background. I've been doing my own manufacturing for 25 years, my own businesses, and sold them. I've been consulting for 25 years for other people, for succession, for exits, for selling their business, to buying a business. I work with private equity. You still got to have boots on the ground, bro. This shit on computers and, hey, do everything for me? No. You got to get out there. See where the opportunities are. And then you have to act. But I'll tell you this. Vietnam's got talent. They got talent. What about English? Hey, they're speaking English in kindergarten. Yeah. These kids are educated, man. And by the way, their education is 11 months long. Do you think they have spring break? Do you think they're going overseas for a couple days on a beach? No. These people are working and licenses, and they just keep on continuous education while they're taking care of their mother and their father that suffered through that fucking war. I listen to these TikToks and these kids telling me about their grandfather and about their mothers and their grandmothers and their brothers and sisters crying after a death of a family member for years. Never went away. Just like Jimmy and Buster. Never went away. And his wife, the mother of Jimmy McClurg, she never came back from that death of her child. That's just one of the 59,000 plus on that memorial in D.C. Okay. Enough. Enough for now. I want you to stay focused. I want you to get pumped. Take any ideas. Help me help you get recruited in the United States. Get a job in the United States. Get work from the United States. I'm here to help you. Okay? What's in it for me? A thank you to God for giving me the opportunity to have a great life. I've had it all, and now it's my time to give back. And that's why God's given me the health and the perseverance and the talent to give back. So as my mentors would say, Rock, just bring joy. Don't bring problems, bring joy. And that's how I finish it. Always bring joy. I'll be talking again. Victory Day, Vietnam, April 30th.